Touch, an article by Hazel Grace on avidtalks.com. There was a study done by American psychologist Harry Harlow on rhesus monkeys in the 1950s. Harlow separated monkeys from their real mothers and had them drink milk from either a cold, wire look-alike mother or a different look-alike mother covered in terry cloth. The monkey spent much more time with the comforting cloth mother, and when the monkeys were only given the choice of the cold, wire mother, they had severe behavioral abnormalities. And even when they were introduced to a more nurturing environment later, according to a summary from the University of Oregon, they still had major issues. Other studies have found similar results in humans. One found that children who grew up in orphanages away from traditional nurturing had much more higher levels of stress hormone cortisol. And another found that touch-deprived infants with abnormal levels of hormones that regulated social behavior. It disturbs me to think about testing babies and not giving them touch. In one study with children that were deprived of touch, half the babies died when they finally realized to stop the research, and the ones that were rehomed with affectionate parents eventually did die. The research noted that upon observation of the babies who were rehomed, the children stopped acting like they were alive before they were dead. I bring this up because this is how I feel. So many of the adults that I know today have stopped acting like they were alive. Now, if I were to say that as an adult, I was not touched for months and months on end, it would likely not disturb us as a society as much. San Franciscans pass by dying homeless, untouched humans every day when they walk to work. As we all know, this is a prevalent experience as a living adult, especially today with the evolution of technology and isolation. Sadly, adults need just as much physical touch as babies to survive. Touch is our most powerful and primal tool of communication. The issue as an adult, you can want to touch or give touch, but it always comes with some kind of meaning. For example, providing a back massage to my dad as a child taught me that it was a subservient act. I shied away from exploring this type of touch in the future with others because it reminded me of the subservient act, robbing myself of physical touch and the need for me to take care of myself. We all do this. We are all afraid of what or how our touch may be interpreted, so we just disengage and don't participate. We are all afraid of the meanings of touch, and all are slowly becoming deprived. I'll go through that again. We are all slowly becoming touch deprived. Furthermore, I vehemently defend the theory that men are being deprived the most, beyond disrepair. The psychologist Arthur Zur notes that for most of the 20th and 21st century American men, physical contact is restricted to violence or sex. So how do we already know that the meaning of touch can deprive? So we already know that the meaning of touch can be deprived, but we understand that the only way to get it is through violence or sex. I can only imagine how little of it is out there. A study which looked at 49 cultures helps us understand the gravity of this situation. The cultures that exhibited minimal physical affection towards their children had significantly higher rates of adult violence. But those cultures that showed significant amounts of physical affection with their young children had virtually no adult violence. There is a solution. Women have platonic ways to receive touch and encourage themselves to go out and hang out with people in touching situations. Women are also encouraged to limit sexual interactions to one partner. They, in hand, restrict the economic supply and options for men to receive touch via sex. Men don't touch other people. It is discouraged and most likely only comes through sexual interactions. So how do they find those sexual interactions? Today, the easiest and quickest way is through dating apps. Now, if things were not already messed up, let's bring in some modern dating apps into the mess. Tinder, for example, is known for its novel style of matching and ambiguity in user intent, raising many questions in this conversation. The marketplace is heterosexual and primarily dominated by two populations: millennial men, average age of 25.7, who are looking for touch and sex, and then possibly more. And then women, average 25.2 at age, enter into the app protecting themselves first, filtering as much as they can, and then look for other desires and needs to be met, like financial security and commitment, before sex is in the mix. Essentially, because the needs and desires don't match, it is a marketplace value system mismatch. To further fuel this gap, men see that they are matching with very few people and therefore become even less discerning. Women, on the other hand, find that they match with the most men and thus become even more discerning. And it is creating a further divide and scarcity. Monopolistic situations for sure. The free market is a powerful and useful system, but only if it works well in those instances where the bargaining power of the contracting parties is more or less equal. When the bargaining power between the two parties are vastly unequal, it can lead to monopolies, dysfunctional behaviors, and toxic power control dynamics. Here are some of the trends that I have recently seen in regards to my experiences. Constant rejection. One study found that a low rate of matching, particularly from men, this study found that around 50% of the matches do not message back. Hence, dating app users are constantly being disliked and ignored. 2, no matches and more time spent on the apps. This creates an addiction and chasing process for the next match and serotonin level bump. And the opportunity to meet somebody new is constantly on the horizon, but not quite frankly there in regards to men. When you do match, you deal with another round of issues, and that is ghosting, simmering, icing. Essentially, the terms mean to ignore people's messages. Ghosting, simmering, icing, all of it is same kind of category, but some form of ignoring. Whether it's a text, voice message, or email, ghosting means not to respond or to disappear. There are different reasons and versions for it, but essentially it's a common practice, and it's almost considered socially acceptable. It's a tool that is used more specifically with people that are dealing with stalkers and people who are not able to take no for an answer. Again, this is an indicator of imbalance on both ends and shows specifically what's going on. Upgrading. There is a Dr. Stubel from the University of North Texas, and she says that as a result of how the app works, and it requires people on Tinder who may feel depersonalized and disposable in their social interactions, they develop heightened awareness of criticism of their looks and bodies, and believe that there is always something better around the corner, or whether with the next swipe of their screen, even while questioning their own worth. So manipulation is the last one, and coercion. And I think these are the most extreme and unwanted behaviors in the exchanges, which we can see is rape on both ends. It's not a safe place for either people in regards to this marketplace. When bargaining power is greatly unequal, the weaker party will eventually feel taken advantage of, which will lead to social unrest. But this is why I'm writing this article. I don't think we've gotten to this point where the social unrest is there yet, but it is. While we all know that dating apps are only socially limited to single people, it is affecting all of us. Birth rates have dropped, and men are reaching states of numbness and disengagement more than ever before. Suicide rates from men are at the highest. In general, men are the untold stories in so many of our current conversations around the Me Too movement. They are boxed not only to show their emotions and slowly die from not being touched, but they also are exposed to other scenarios. Here's a story from Reddit recently from that's an anonymous person that posted. It's called Feeling Disposable, Venting. He says, as a male in the dating world, women, I'm sure most guys deal with this, make us feel disposable. Women are so flaky and cancel, reschedule all the time. I might move things around or make other plans because I have a date or whatever set up. To have her cancel at the last second, though, makes me feel like shit. It's not just one girl, but it happens all the time. I don't care if somebody rejects me at the beginning. I don't care if somebody decides they aren't interested and just ceases communication. What really bothers me is that my time is being wasted. As an adult with a full-time job, leisure time is very valuable. I only have so much time in the week to enjoy myself. If I make a commitment to spend that time with you, you better believe I'll be there. Don't waste my time talking to me if you already aren't interested. Making plans when I could be doing something else and even driving places just to flake out. Sure, most of what I'm saying is because of a couple interactions that just happened recently and probably being emotional. However, this is an ongoing problem, not a one-time occurrence. Don't waste my time and don't get my hopes up just to crush them. Being rejected sucks. Being led on is 1,000 times worse. Men aren't supposed to be emotional, but it fucking hurts, especially when it continues to happen. A one-time thing can be brushed off, but something recurring makes it feel like it's your fault. It's not just one girl. It's a pattern. It's a cycle. It's an addiction. It's a system that we have allowed ourselves to overcome. We have a real ticking time bomb on our hands, and we need to figure out a way to socially disengage it soon. The other issue in this equation is that physical affection is only beneficial when lovingly exchanged within the tender bounds of intimate relationships. Mutually constructive intentions are important. Unintentionally, anything else can reinforce further issues that someone may have already had with touch. Like the example I gave about myself above in regards to massage. Apps create this instant faux intimacy, and again, some form of ambiguity in users' intent, deceiving all of us. Ideas, it starts here, talking about it. I started a dating app addiction group locally and have actually found a lot of interest. Getting off dating apps and asking people not to use dating apps is not necessarily the solution. But talking about the dissociation from reality allows the pressure to decompress that a bit. The reality is that as an adult, you need just as much touch as a child or a baby, and one person is not enough to provide that. We have to reach outside of the idea that we are dependent upon just one person to receive physical touch. Explore what other options we have to fill our cup through platonic relationships and not be screwed with thinking that there is just one person that can do this for us. Key people in our cultures need to step up and start showing how to facilitate touch for touch without meaning. More examples need to be prominent in our society. Another area of expansion is healing. Alternative medicine centered around deep mind, body, spirit treatment is essential. I've recently visited Avid Awakening, for example, and they've expanded their services to include not only hypnotherapy, but bi-resonant healing along with it. This type of therapy can help reframe the subconscious and alleviate anxiety and depression that comes from many of these unhealthy scenarios. I'll be writing more about an article about recommendations for developers in regards to building correct dating apps. When I say correct, none of them are correct, but ones that may be more appropriate in regards to intentions of setting us in the right place with our interactions. stay tuned. If you have any more questions or want to participate in this conversation, you can reach out to me here, or you can go to Instagram to number 4, this actual number 4, Hazel Grace. Thank you.